Commissioner Carlson?
Here.
Commissioner Aye.
Here.
Commissioner Rivers? President?
Here. We have our president.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Receive approval of board and finance committee for meeting on May 15, 2025.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of Personnel and Finance Subcommittee, May 15th, 2025, as well as the minutes of the regular meeting of the board of commissioners.
Carlson?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
President?
Third is yes.
Scott's on the agenda, item number 10. We can table item number 16 until next month. So we can amend the agenda to remove the executive session. Yeah, we would need a motion to remove that.
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the amended removing 16 executive sessions for next month.
Commissioner Carlson?
Aye.
Commissioner Aye.
Aye.
President?
And Commissioner Thomas. One of the biggest things that I want to talk about is the hold on.
Yeah.
There's an open meetings act. I had a lot of thoughts on what the board over the last year about the ways we do things at the line, but with the overkill thing, I think the best going to the can do is allow it now we discuss it here. So that being said, I'm not gonna be hesitant or open any substance or bring up any thoughts and ideas that the board members may have. We don't bring it up here, it's quite really not even be discussed. The other thing is, just not the topic of death. We always talk about how good our district is doing on different elements there. And past month hasn't been any of us. I talked about golfers, we talked about horses. Looked at our parks and that was pretty exciting. Part of it has to do with the summer season coming on, so there's activity outside. But I talked with all our employees for their dues staying moving forward. So something's good for the community overall.
Thanks, I'll pass it on to staff.
People are a lot of way from the good to know that, feel that way. Our church used the pool last night.
Oh, great. That's great.
Definitely got positive feedback. Thank you. Moving on, moving on the trade report.
There's no report from the attorney.
Seeking a motion for approval of budget expenditures for the month of May.
I make a motion to approve partnership expenditures for the month of May in the amount of $663,449.82.
Carlson?
Aye.
President?
Executive director.
Yeah, so May, really begins our busy season. The Park District is in full swing. We have a lot going on from camps in the pool and golf courses and special events, concerts, just so much going on this summer. Definitely going to be a busy and productive summer. Some of the other things here showing a nice picture of the preschool graduates. So we had 8 graduates for our 24-25 school year. As I mentioned, the City of Hope contract is now in full effect. We're getting $3,800 a month beginning in May. Visits, and I know we looked at this earlier, but visits continue to remain high and climb at our sports arena fitness studio. Maintenance has been busy, planting flowers and cleaning up parks and facilities. Some good shots of the pool there with patrons enjoying some relief on a hot day. We painted the pool before it opened, so I think that nice bright blue and white color really gives it a good crisp look. Here you can see some of our guards training and being teenagers and having fun, but still completing their responsibilities to learn everything as far as the water safety. If you haven't seen our community mosaic downstairs that Christine coordinated, I think it's a really cool way to bring some of the talent from kids in the area and kind of showcase it in the park district. So those tiles have the ability, that right side opens, and those tiles have the ability to swap out and change out and things like that. So it was just an idea that Christine had came up with to display some kids' artwork.
Are we the ones who move them, or should people move them, or should we
They should probably
keep them in
Obviously, our Independence Day celebration is coming up here this Friday, so everything is set. We've coordinated with our food vendors. Christine does a large part in kind of making sure the band is set, the food vendors are set. Rich is coordinating with his maintenance team to make sure all maintenance obligations are ready, conditions are set. Generators and lights and everything are in place. Chad has been working hard with, ESDA, Lake County Sheriff's Auxiliary Unit, Zion Police, and his team to make sure that, staffing is appropriate and everyone's on the same page with road closures and where people are going to be. I've talked to our fireworks company; they are all set to go. We've made a down payment with them. The fireworks again, they're $30,000 for the show. We pay them $15,000 as a down payment, and then $15,000 after. The city of Zion helps offset that. I think it's $14,500 that the city of Zion contributes to our fireworks, so that's helpful. The concert in the park series began last week, last Thursday. And there was a great turnout for that. How many did you have? A couple hundred?
Actually, it was like 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
For the very first concert.
Oh yeah, the other one was big out.
Probably had between 500 to 600 in attendance for the first concert, which is phenomenal. Yes, and as Eric mentioned last Thursday, our staff band had the availability to be scheduled at the end of our concert series. So instead of ending on August 7th, we're going to be ending on August 14th. So, which is obviously great news because the band that we had to unfortunately cancel due to the weather seems to be a fine favor. So I was happy to be able to still get them part of the lineup.
Yeah, it did work out great.
I have one question by your picture. If you cancel a concert, do we make a sign for out so people know?
Like a physical sign out in the concert area
Yeah,
because you showed up and you were like, "Where's everybody?"
there were a couple people.
No, I know. I mean, yeah. I mean, honestly.
Yeah. Two people came up to me and you put a sign out so people know.
Okay, it's a good suggestion because it may not be raining at 5 o'clock that evening or even at the exact time the concert's supposed to start. So I can understand people showing up thinking, "We canceled."
So I did. I stayed outside. I stayed approximately until 7:30, 7:45. That might be nearing, and I did talk to a few people. It goes on our webpage as an alert and a notification directly on the homepage, and then it goes out on social media as well. The band shares it on all of their socials, and we share it on all of ours. on the band, last week's concert actually ended up being made that morning. We were trying to hold out as long as possible. We were looking at some different alternate arrangements for them, perhaps moving them indoors, then outside. We decided that since their date alignment worked well with their current concert series, that we just so honestly, it just really depends on what we're seeing as we watch the forecast.
Usually, they're only day
Especially for bands that have maybe a lot of equipment or a long setup time, you know, they want to make a call by, I mean, you probably made that call last time at 10 a.m.
I probably started talking to
Yeah.
I think the signage issue is kind of simple. It doesn't have to be a big sign. Like the social media and the info. I'm talking about some A-frames.
That's
Some
what I said.
A-frames out there, and we could obviously change the board on it.
Yeah.
It's save the old ones.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion, Jess, because I know you had called me right around concert time and I was unavailable then, but I thought to myself, oh, I bet he's there. You know, and that's why I texted you.
No,
So.
the sign is really big.
Yeah, it is.
I think critical to the person that's arriving and saying,
Right.
"Hey, what's going on?"
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. A lot of people might not be looking at the forecast or whatever. So.
Right.
Then it's talk about signage. Back to something.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about what having signage about the park district, the let this, when people walk into the parking lot,
Oh,
how do they know who's the witness?
well, I guess my only thought would be like all of the communication and marketing that goes out says like the Zion Park District 4th of July. Festival.
What physical
Out like here, I would just say the fact that it's honestly like on our property at our band show. And I mean, I understand that people might think that's the city, right?
Right.
Is that what you're saying? Like, how do we?
Not that I think they do, but my point is, you know, I'm trying to move the partnership more.
Yeah.
And the easy ones are just a sign, to know that that's put on by the partnership.
Well, you know, the other thing, Dave, that kind of just hit me too is we have that new LED sign that's going to be going up. That'll start to be constructed. Like, they'll start work on in a couple months. So we'll have that nice, big, bright LED sign out front here. And I think that would be a good marker too, as people kind of come up from that parking lot, the church parking lot across the street, to say like, you know, Zion Park District,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Independence Day celebration and fireworks, like
It is
on site.
currently on that sign, but the new sign will give it a definitely.
Yeah.
Well, the sign, but the more signage, the better.
Okay. Yeah. Because a lot of times people do get us confused with the city.
Well, I happened to walk in one day. I know there's a lot of people.
Is it necessarily a bad thing? I mean, we're all one. The city does pay half of it.
I'm not sure.
Well, 500.
So,
14.5.
well, yeah, but we have other expenses for the band and for labor on the day and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, they're probably paying maybe a quarter of it to a third. You know, of the total cost.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be a topic I'm just thinking we need to promote that it's a giant part of this more. Last year, I got a lot of people walking in there, and it was him for the event. He wasn't really pushing one way or the other, than the partnership.
Yeah.
And ironically, we walked out at the same time, and he was seeing a lot of accolades about, you know, what great event it was, like online. And at the end of the day, we're all going to be sitting beside.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see that we're all getting recognition.
Yeah.
I just think that as a board member, it's our responsibility to make sure that we're trying the best we can to promote that this is what the partnership brings to our community.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
And 4th of July, celebration is a big one.
Yeah.
People remember all year long.
For sure.
We, there is an announcement that does go out on all of your email blasts as well as every phone call that says that, July 4th celebration brought to you by the Zion Register. And that goes out to all residents of Zion that have registered for the emergency alert system through the city. That is something.
So hopefully that's
Just one last thing, just to hear on this. I have no problem with up there.
yeah. Oh, no.
You know, you want very well. I'm just saying that that part is should get the proper recognition for what we need.
Look at this picture of you guys duking it out on the way out.
Okay, well, that's definitely something, that we can think about. Yeah.
I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. Just the last thing I wanted to mention, which I think I made the board aware of via text as well, is that we did receive a $250,000 allocation, primarily driven by Senator Mary Ed Allen, and also Joyce Mason as well, who, our advocacy efforts and our good relationships with them, including like the trip that Jesse and I took to Springfield. Really helped us, I think, get that $250,000 allocation in the state's current year budget. So,
Yes, this is the bully.
yeah. Yeah, and I think it's also a testament. I mean, it's obviously more. It's more than just that one trip, right? It's a testament to kind of what we do all year and what the park district does and puts on. And we'll definitely invite the senator and the representative to our Fourth of July celebration and to our concerts in the park, and then they just see what good work that everyone is doing throughout the park district, and they know that that's going to be dollars well spent.
I guess I didn't realize what it was used for, because we talked before about when we took out the tennis court and improved the basketball. That was always for the Giants Park.
Oh.
Playground equipment renovation.
Yeah, most likely. So they've allocated this for a playground. They want the money to be spent on, a playground renovation. Probably again toward the top of our list would be Edina Playground, right?
I appreciate that. Yeah. That's my stomping grounds, and it is very old. So
Yeah.
I'll take some pictures of just because the old stuff. But definitely great old stuff.
Yeah, especially with that size of an allocation. I mean, we could do some smaller playgrounds like a Daniel Park or something like that, but we could do that really nice for $100,000. So that's it for my report.
Thank you. And that's moving on here, item number 9 was discussion about board meeting procedures. This is that major of a topic. It's just something I want to start to discuss with the board at these meetings. And I'm going to send out a text message or email with website for our rules of order. And this is not to take away from the knowledge and the talent of the board meetings. I feel honored to sit with the board with all the experience that's here. But it's just trying to bring all of that down to define it, to get into a finer way of looking at things. To see, first off, we may not be in that particular process in this particular video, but what we can take away is the output is the best things that we find on how to everything, how we run a meeting, how to make a motion, make sure we're all doing it, make it more efficient as we move through. I know some were in there, we had a couple of changes to the agenda acts there to kind of put some numbers on about different topics. And we don't have to read through pages because we're looking for everything, just to speed things up. But I do want to try to push being efficient at our meetings and to kind of cut down the amount of time that we spend and try to highlight something like what our board does. I know we jumped into it, but that we're not actually running day-to-day operations. That we're just here to approve, give the directive that's necessary for the park to move forward, whether it's financial or whether it's policy issues. And we should be talking about all these things. We spend a lot of time on finance, and I know you do great. Keep us on that point there, especially when what really makes me happy when I see a good audit result. That means I'm not just getting it from you. Yeah. I'm getting it from the auditor. Right. So So, but I want to start to look more about policy to make sure that that doesn't get left without us actually talking about it. Everything from emergency operations policies that we have on the books. If we have a question, I can have the policy brought to the board. And there's a lot of things are in play right now that existed here from 10 years ago or 15 years ago that I may that I or other board members that may not know about. And I just want to skirt those issues over. And times change. The policy that was here 10 years ago that makes a lot of sense. And the government maybe it's changed now based on different expectations or the leader decisions that made that policy that's not really the best one for us. Because all of that plays into our liability issues also. So I'm gonna start slow with these small steps, and then we start to build from there. And so I'm gonna start to talk about what makes a good board. I mean, like I said, we're a good board because we bring a lot to the table. But how do we progress from here? Is it just showing up for external events, being like this 4th of July event? External, I mean, other than board meetings.
Mayor's luncheon.
Other than mayor's luncheon showing up with say, get involved. What can we do to highlight our board to kind of showcase it as one of the better operations for the board and what are the standings? That's the kind of thing that I want to bring up in the future as we move forward each month, little by little, as we go through our organization process and how we look at things. And I wanted to recognize thank you for everybody for moving the meeting to today's date. That made it good for me because of my schedule. But in the future, I hope not to ask for that too many times. I believe that every board member has a right to have at least knowledge and be in these meetings and on a regular basis. I know we have an established a calendar to go by, and I want to stick to that calendar. And I don't want anybody to think that they're being by taking out of the cycle that they're being led down a different path or limited on knowledge that's coming up from these meetings. Uh, that's pretty much the things I want to discuss, and we move forward each month. Add a little bit more to it, a little more structure to
Will
it.
this be like a regular part of the agenda now? Will it say discussion of part board meeting procedures?
No, 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 be specific to something that's come up. Right now, it's what it's kind of launching, saying that you'll be getting an email from me or a text message to look at the website and it's up. But I didn't want to do it without talking about it because I don't want to insult anybody because I know we have a lot of experience here and a lot of knowledge at the table, and I don't want anyone to say, oh, he's trying to bring it down to a one-on-one on this topic, it's not necessary. And something's being obvious, and that's why we'll look at it and move on, move forward. But I want my end goal is to not just the efficiency of meetings on the board, but try to find ways to bring the board forward. Like I said, to not just make the board meet some type of standard for the board, but to exceed it, to take the board to a level that we are modeled for the boards within the state structure of governance. That's my intent on this. That's all I've got to report. Well, sounds good. Thank you. So moving on to the item 10, presentation on Dave Park. Project update.
Yep, so Scott Donkey is here from Gold Hamilton. I believe he last attended our meeting in December and kind of gave the board an update where the project was at as we were kind of going on hiatus for the winter. And so now that activities have been going again for the last month or so, he's back to provide kind of a project update.
Hard to believe that was 6 months ago, right? I mean, where's the time gone? Last time I was here, we were talking about Merry Christmas, and now we're getting ready to celebrate Independence Day. So just to let you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Things have been moving forward. The schedule has been kind of tough because of the weather. As you know, it's been kind of a wet spring, and that has slowed the process down. They're trying to stay on task as best they can. And there have been other issues that they've had, and we'll talk about those. So, go ahead. So this was actually pictures we're taking in December on a very, very cold and windy day. They were installing the irrigation lines. This is the southeast side of the field where there'll be connections installed for the sprinkler system. They did one on the north end and then recently added the second part of that after they removed the spoils pile and the screening machine that was sitting in the location where that was going. They started back to work around the middle to the end of March, and we were there the very first day that they were on site. They were backfilling all of the parking lot islands, and when they were doing that, we noticed that water was starting to pump up from underneath the bottom of the pavement. This is just the binder course on there right now. They've not installed the finish course, but that for me was an area of concern, and we asked them to kind of take a look at it and consider what could be done to prevent that from happening. It is really smack dab in the center of the parking lot, and what you don't want is in the wintertime for that freeze thaw stuff pushing on the pavement and damaging the pavement. Go ahead to the next one. So they've already, as you see here, carved out areas where they're going to put in under drains to relieve the water that's in the base that's underneath it. They'll patch the binder course, and then when the finished course goes on, you'll never even know.
Why do you think it happened in that area?
Because my guess is it's the lowest part of the pavement. It's like everything was kind of pitched to come here. You'll see right here on the bottom, a kind of a darker spot. That's actually a storm inlet. So everything was pitched to go to that storm inlet, and so I'm guessing they did the same thing water-wise underneath in the base. Is everything was kind of just going the natural direction that they had it graded to. But what you don't want, like I said, is for it to start pumping up through the pavement, because that's going to cause issues. Playground.
It wasn't from within like an artesian well. It was
No,
it was all the runoff coming, from the whole area that was coming down.
Yes. So also earlier in the spring, I was asked to get a roof put on this building. As you can see, the condition of the roof was pretty bad. The condition of the fascia material, soffits and everything was not very good. And Eric asked if I could get a roof put on it. We worked with a co-op company to come in and do this. So we met all the bid specifications and standards that are out there. It's a pretty big company that I've worked with several times before. And they just recently also just finished the same building, same type of building over at Charlotte.
What building is that?
It's the Park Services building in David.
Yeah, it would be from here, just if you followed that sidewalk down, Dave, it would lead you to that building. So there's a couple washrooms in there.
So this is a picture of the new roof after it was put on. You see we removed all the skylights, and that was, anytime you put a penetration in a roof, it runs the risk in the future of leaking. There really wasn't any need to do it or to keep them, so they were, I want to call them homemade skylights. So we decided to remove them and put new decking on, ice and water shield, architectural grade shingles, and then on the downslope, go to the next picture, we added 6-inch gutters and downspouts. And these downspouts now are in a pipe that goes underground, so that it won't be splashing on the concrete pad that's going to be poured out. Yeah. So this is obviously the playground. Although all the equipment is installed, there in this picture they're installing the gravel base that's going on the bottom, used for drainage. Go to the next picture. This is now the surface, wood mulch surface that's on there to finish it. The only part that's left is on the back side here. They left out some curb. That still has to be completed, and that will be done when they start doing the rest of the sidewalk and pouring more concrete around that surface. So now we're in April, and it's starting to get dry enough out that they can continue to do the grading and the spreading of the topsoil that needed to go on, 6 inches of topsoil. What they needed to do first was they needed to scarify the subgrade, and they used a chisel tooth device to drag it over the field and break it up about 4 or 6 inches, and they needed to do that before they spread the topsoil. Next one. This is kind of obviously an aerial view. You get an idea of the work that they did. They went in this pattern because in between, you see these lines were the drain lines for the field. And they didn't want to drag into there and hook one of the drain lines and pull it out of the ground. So they just marked it with spray paint and then started scarifying the ground around it. Just another view angle from the back of the park as they're starting to push the soil to started at the south end and they're working their way out of the park. Good. So one of the things we noted when they would scarify that subgrade, like I talked about, was they would bring up stuff that was buried underneath the soil. This is a pretty good chunk of asphalt. This is a 4-inch piece of corrugated pipe, and they were not picking it up. Now specifications say no rocks, stones, bigger than an inch, no debris, any of that stuff. Very specifically said that, but they were not paying attention to that. So I took these pictures, I sent them out to the group, I sent them to the contractor, and I said, hey, I quoted the specification portion. I said, you guys need to get on this. Let's go to the next one. Contractors are notorious for throwing their trash wherever they want to. Drinking bottle, you see it's already kind of buried in the subgrade. Can of spray paint when they're done marking. Oh, this is no good. They just toss it wherever they want to. So I was very clear and brought it to their attention that this cannot be allowed. What Rick doesn't need is this stuff buried in there, coming up and causing him problems. Or in the case of those rocks and chunks of asphalt, they will work their way to the top. Some kids out there playing soccer and falls on it. I mean, there's liability issues that they need to consider. So as a result, they had to walk the fields every time they scarified those rows. They would walk them, and this was from one row that they collected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a result, go to the next one. This was the pile of debris that was collected from them scarifying. Wow. Yeah. So if no one would have said anything to them, could you imagine that stuff being buried into the subgrade? And this man having to deal with it.
I don't couldn't. Apple 6 inches on top.
Yeah, 6 inches of topsoil.
Did they do this after it, Jess?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, they were taking like any contractor who's putting drywall on your house or something. They're just trying to cover it up. They were intending to just cover it up with the 6 inches of topsoil. So they'll say that's in the subgrade. We'll just bury it. No one will know the difference.
Yep.
Like any contractor trying to move fast. So
Again, it's staying on top of these guys and making sure that they're doing the job that they're supposed to do, and that at the end of the day, you all get what you're paying for, right? So this is just another far shot of the whole park as they continue to spread the topsoil. Again, they're starting at the south and working their way north. So this is the screening machine that they used. Obviously, all of the bigger chunks are coming out here in a pile, and the good screen pulverized materials going in the back of the truck, and then they'll drive it out and dump it. They'll dump several piles, and then the bulldozer will come, and it's hooked to GPS, and it leaves that 6 inches of topsoil over the subgrade. This operation was very slow. They were only able to get about 200 cubic yards a day, and there was a lot of breakdowns. That machine looks like a dinosaur, and it is a dinosaur. It was breaking down a lot, which also led to delays in the project as well. So you see they've gotten pretty far in this picture. Almost the entire soccer field area is completed. The path around, you can see down here and over here, they had started putting the stone path in, getting it ready for asphalt. They wanted to get all the topsoil and stuff down first, so they wouldn't have to worry about operations or going back near it once it was, the asphalt was completed. Next one. So one of the other things we noted was that dinosaur, I was talking about the screening machine, it was leaking oil badly. I took these pictures and I sent them out. I sent them to the contractor. My fear was that when they pulled the machine out, that they would just bury that material in the ground and nothing would grow there. It is considered contaminated soil and needed to be treated as such. Go to the next one. This is what it looked like when they pulled the pulverizer out. I know you can't really appreciate the size of the area, but all of that dark spot is oil. So we asked them to remediate it. Go to the next one. And they came in with the bulldozer and excavated out about 2 foot of material, loaded it into their trucks and hauled it off. So after they finished spreading the topsoil, they seeded in 2 different directions. And I know it's kind of tough to see in this picture, but you can see kind of in this corner, it's going on an angle. So when they put the seed down, they go up and down this way, and then they go at a 45-degree angle to that route that they took the first time. And they were also broadcasting it by hand in a broadcast spreader, a guy walking behind it up and down the entire field. So then they come back and they shoot the hydro mulch over the top. Just another shot, different angle. This is from the east looking west as they continue the operations of putting that down. And this is looking south again. Gives you a really good shot of the path. You can see the angle directions here and some of the straight ones going this way. That's a pretty good shot, pretty good definition of what they're doing. And then they continue to spread topsoil. At this point, as you know, there is a shortage of topsoil that was on this project, 1,800 cubic yards. So when they pulled off the screener, at that point, import of topsoil started occurring, and it is almost completed. As of Friday, we were at 1,310 cubic yards of the 1,800 needed. So we're figuring one more day, which hopefully will be tomorrow, weather permitting, they'll finish importing the rest of the topsoil. They have enough down now that they are out of this area completely and working their way down around the playground and the service building.
So if you recall, that was the last change order on the project that the board approved, the topsoil import in the amount not to exceed 55,000. That was our last. I think I did. Yeah.
So I know I see the pictures here. You're going to talk about skate park. So this will be the area where the skate park will be going. There's a piece of sidewalk here and another one here. It's going to make a corner, and it's going to come off that corner. So skate park's going to be approximately in this area here, and try to stay out of this detention basin as much as possible. Just another shot of the area. Again, you see this piece of sidewalk here is going to extend out and make a corner, and the skate park will sit here in this area. They had to make some grade adjustments and stuff just to kind of keep it out of the detention area and not cause Lake County Stormwater Management to have any kind of issues, which it turns out they don't. We just need to make sure that the amount of holding capacity in that detention area doesn't change. So this is kind of a shot of where it will sit. Again, that picture that we showed at the end of the sidewalk here, but this is what it's going to look like when it's completed. And then this will extend to the new.
So this is actually too, if you look at some of the printed pages in front of you, that was kind of like phase one of the design that we went back to Spawn Ranch and kind of asked them questions on how they came up with that design and what the elements are and what style of skateboarder, like experience level and things. And then we kind of worked and modified the design to come up with what you see here on the paper. So that's the agenda item. After this is the approval of the skate park final design for David Park. So this is very close to one more slide. This is one more considering all the different factors that we have to consider and why it ended up with that design, which was very close to kind of like what our preliminary designs were.
That's another elevation shot. So when we worked with Spawn Ranch is the name of the company, as Eric said, we met with them virtually and kind of talked to them about um, what the park district was looking for. We did send them preliminary drawings and stuff that was in the first design of the park originally, and he came up with that phase one design, and then what phase two is what we see.
I just wanted to flip back here now that Scott's kind of gone through the whole project and show you sort of like the initial master plan that was submitted, essentially with the OSLAC grant. So, you saw all of Scott's aerial drone shots, and this kind of gives you the full master plan picture, that we're designing.
So they finally had a bunch of spoil piles sitting here. Now they're all gone, and they're going to start working on the base for the basketball courts. And you can see all the concrete and/or path area that they still have to pour. Again, they're trying to work their way from the south, north, and just naturally work their way out.
So, any questions for Scott? I mean, Rich, Scott, and I meet weekly on site at David Park with both our landscape architect and our contractor and their subcontractors, and just kind of discuss all of these things and what kind of progress has been made on the last week, and any issues that come up, and a lot of the things that Scott had.
Very impressive with the scale that's about to go along with the and I appreciate you writing rough shot. But I appreciate that. I have a question for Eric that I should have asked some time ago. What is the anticipated usage? Like you got to drive to this park. Like the parks, there's people around them.
Yeah.
Is there like the subdivision? Can they make use of that, or is there trees or fences there?
Well, there is
Um,
the subdivision here immediately to the east. Obviously, the high school is immediately to the west. This parking lot, I believe, has capacity for 155 spots. When we submitted our grant application, one of the things that we knew was, feedback that we got before we submitted the master plan and the grant application was that soccer is very popular in our community, and we don't have, two large dedicated soccer fields like this. So that was some of the feedback as to, why the two large soccer fields were incorporated in the design.
AYSO and some of those.
AYSO, Heart of the City, who we partnered with on the futsal event. We have the other group that Kay works with frequently that right now is just using space behind the leisure center. So we'll certainly have a lot of probably soccer groups in the area that are looking to either rent this field space or utilize this field for their teams or practice.
And the walking, like a walking trail
That's like a walking
What
loop.
is the length of that? So you have a sign up like the quarter mile or mile in the area, just wondering if that might be a place for seniors.
Is it a quarter? You think it's a quarter? Yeah, I was gonna say it's bigger than.
Yeah, and there's just the subdivision to the south of this.
Yeah.
There is a path that goes back there as well to that subdivision, so people from that subdivision will have access to it as well.
I think what it is too for the community that I discussed before, west of Lewis, I think of a lot of these subdivisions are, I won't with them, still kind of left out of the design plan. I think this adds to the community.
Yeah.
And it's been my discussion with them that we've got things here. So it's definitely a big plus there.
The contractor's goal is to be done with this probably the end of this month or sometime in August. The skate park, however, they're probably not even going to start it until September. So one of the discussions that I've had, we had at the last construction meeting was, how long do you want to leave up the construction time? Or do you want to move it to keep them off? Because it's going to take probably a good year of growth on that soccer field for it to come in properly. And you don't want people driving out there with their cars and damaging it. So that was discussion we had at last week's construction meeting. The other part that we talked about the week before was this is really a bad time to seed. It's hot, it's humid. Right now, there's no water out there. The contractor, his contract says that he has to maintain it, including watering, to establish. And the owner is the one who decides what that establishment percentage of growth is, right? So I suggested that they add a wetting agent into the soil to help manage how that water gets used into the soil, and it will help with the seed once it starts coming in. But they got to get water going on.
So
And
are you projecting then 2026 for plate?
yes,
Spring?
Yeah. So that's what we're hoping.
You know
Spring.
they're all meeting with me, right? All the
That's
soccer
coming
groups.
up spring now.
2026 spring. Or
That ain't even 6
early
months
summer.
away.
Still depends how.
it's really going to depend on the establishment and how it goes.
Yeah. But we would like to open the north end of the park so people can play basketball, use the playground, use as many amenities as they can.
And
So
that's
you
gonna
would,
be,
you would, you
and
would
that's gonna
fence
be
off the
contingent on
soccer
approval.
area. Not
Yes.
allow- They're fighting at the bit to get out.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
We will keep the fence around the soccer court.
Yeah, that's what you just
How tall?
all
It's 6
Yeah.
foot.
That was that you made a comment on there's no water out there.
Well, they just got the water up and running,
It's, the irrigation's not up.
but the contractor has not brought in any kind of irrigation to water the system. That's under their contract. That's their obligation.
Their tanker is water right
How about
Yeah, I put a wetting agent on the soil, or I asked that for that, and they did do that, and that will be repeated in 30 days. Again, it's all about the management of the water to help it be more efficient and work more efficiently. So,
we need inspection before we use stuff? Is it like the building? Is there some kind of code for that? So that we can get it partial, like for the playground area?
I like to use for the turf portions. I like to use Lake County Stormwater Management. Their percentage of growth is 90% before they accept it. And I think this should be the same thing before the park district accepts it.
See, I'm making it here because like the building up, the building guy has to come. This is not the same thing. But I'm just wondering, what are the codes for that to be safe for the playground? So I mean, you
right, we wouldn't be able to use this. If you wanna use the other part, is it just our decision that it's
So the-
safe, or do we have to have, is there some?
Playground gets inspected by the manufacturer.
Yeah. Inspected by the manufacturer, and then we also additionally have a CPSI, which is a certified playground safety instructor, on staff that will also conduct his own.
Had to be something, because of liability, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, we
everything
don't-
gets inspected.
You don't really have that on the sports field portion. It's mostly just on playgrounds or on your buildings and stuff.
Okay. And we're on the time, how do we water those?
Yeah, so right now we're looking at, they're called Kifco water reels, and it's just a big round reel of poly hose with a sprinkler on it that gets pulled to the end of the field. And I turn the water on, it has a booster pump, and it will cover almost sideline to sideline a soccer field on one end. So you're going to need two of them. And you're going to need a cart, like a gator or something like that, to move it around and to pull the sprinkler head out. That sprinkler head, when you think about the size of the hose and stuff that's on it, and 300 feet of hose, to pull that by hand is going to be nearly impossible.
So that's currently budgeted.
Yes. Yeah. And so there is a whole irrigation drawing. I was trying to look for the actual irrigation plan drawing that showed it. But yes, we did budget for the purchase of 2 of the.
Scott said you're gonna have to buy them. Budget.
Yeah, they're about 13 or 14,000 apiece. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So
Rich, is there a new skill, is that a skill set that we need to learn, or is that, do we already know that?
We've got some. If we budget,
we did not budget a gator. We can either borrow, well, we can either use what Parks currently has or borrow something from golf. But we didn't budget to purchase a gator. I mean, obviously, when you're looking at that building right now, that's kind of the extent of the storage that we would have on site for what could be potentially like both reels and a mower. So we don't have like a.
Just come up every week. Okay, what type of mower would you use? You own that thing.
Toro 3500D. That's what I would use.
Thank you, very thorough presentation. I will say this, when Eric first brought the concept of hiring you on, I was skeptical. But the presentation was good, the numbers were good, the process of being was, and I'm saying, I'm more convinced now that it's money well spent. You save this money and you keep it on track right.
Well, I will tell you that that has been the way I've always operated. I'm a bulldog for the client and for the taxpayers. I've been that way my whole life. Life has been working for a taxpayer entity. So that's what I'm used to, and I'm not going to change that. That's why contractors don't like me. I make them do the job that they're supposed to do.
Sledgehammer. Yeah.
Thank you. Move on here,
One more thing before Oslo grants are out. So if you guys need help with that, THA can help you with that. I'll also go back. I just got the notice for
Okay. Can you stay for the next 2 items?
this. Yeah, absolutely.
moving on, thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Moving on, item, some presentation of the, we had to tell that, you got
Yeah.
approval of skate park, sound design.
No, there's no. So what, as we just kind of talked about it and you saw where the skate park's going to fit into the master plan, you saw kind of the first iteration of the drawing and again, the printed pages here, which are also in your packet, but when you get into like these engineering type drawings, they're so detailed it doesn't show real good on your iPad or something like that. It throws the sizing off. So I wanted to print these as well. So these again are from Spawn Ranch. This again, as I said, is the second iteration of the drawing, and so there's a lot of things to consider with respect to the skate park as far as how many square feet it can be. It has to fit into the little piece of the park. There's other considerations that have to be given to some of the skate park elements and features. We thought the first one was a little too technical. Like the first design they came up with was maybe a little too difficult for what could be like even the average skateboarder. So this one mixes in a good mix of different elements and elevations and kind of fun amenities and stuff like that to where someone who is an beginner level skateboarder would enjoy it, or someone who is even a little more technical could have some elements in here and use it in a way that would be fun to them. So, this is kind of the final design approval. And so we'd be seeking the park board's approval for the final design.
So, is there a motion for the approval of this state part-time design for David Park?
I'll make that motion. Skate park front design for the presented and
Second.
Aye.
Move on to approval of the master services agreement with Hamilton for professional consulting, engineering, and survey services.
Yeah, so I mean, Gowalt Hamilton, company Scott works for, has been obviously a trusted and competent partner for us. We feel real comfortable in their abilities to perform different work, whether it's project oversight, project management. They have a lot of engineers and architects and other kind of services that they offer. So what this master services agreement does essentially is kind of like set out the terms for another engagement. So instead of getting into specific agreements for surveying or engineering or whatever it would be. This is kind of like the master services overall encompassing agreement that would govern whatever we engage with them. And our attorney has reviewed the MSA. Our attorney felt that it was very fair and thought it was a good agreement. So again, this doesn't bind us to anything specifically here. This is just kind of like agreeing to general terms and conditions if we were to engage them for different services in the future.
And it also will help, it will eliminate the need for Eric to bring you every little thing. Not that he can't update you on what's going on, but you agreeing to this master service agreement gives him the ability to get projects going, and not have to come to you every time.
you like having you on routine.
Well, sort of.
I like that about
Yeah, from a conditions basis, but
Yes.
there's no
There's
really
no
financial
financial.
aspect.
Standard procedure.
Yeah, we do this with a lot of park districts and school districts. Public works.
To approve the,
Make a motion to approve the master service agreement with Dowie for professional consulting, engineering, and survey.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
And moving on here, 13, approval of purchase of a 2025 Ford F-250 used by the Park District Maintenance for the amount of $55,000.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
take off. Thanks, Scott.
We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
You'll see you tomorrow.
10 o'clock.
When it came
Shepherd's Crook parking lot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yep, we'll see you there.
Okay.
Thanks.
To reiterate that approval, we're looking at item number 13 for approval and purchase of 2025 Ford F-250 used by Park Maintenance for the amount of $55,000. Through the source wall intergovernmental purchasing cooperative as operated by the Federal Governmental Joint Purchasing Office. So I understand where that is coming from. Have we talked about the top of the replacement before?
Yeah, we did because it was in our budget. So we budgeted it for,
budget at 65.
yeah, we budgeted up to Yeah, 65,000, correct, for our fiscal year's budget. Park maintenance has been searching for the vehicle and looking into it. This also kind of, Dave, goes into back to your question about like long-term capital planning. So Rich will kind of look at it and say, okay, I'm gonna need a truck in 2025, probably won't need one in 26, might need one in 27. Um,
So we can have a
Make a motion.
motion.
do you have a question?
Yeah. Which, how many more trucks do we need to drop off?
Probably 4 more. That's on the project. Actually, something gets straight there. Yeah, like 4 more.
The truck is the one with the cab and half.
This one?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
this is straight cab.
No, the one you take out.
No, that's not a cab, no. No, no, that one you're thinking of is still. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll add too, I mean, we use things well past their useful life. So, yeah, this one that it's replacing, like we said, it's a 1999 GMC with over 200,000 miles.
Or like the thing that comes back next year and another truck.
We may, again, we'll look at our capital plan and see what the most immediate needs are. And if a truck is not the most immediate need, we felt like it was this year. Because again, this is replacing a 99, so we just kind of can't hold off anymore on this. Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. And thankfully, our mechanic is incredible. He's great.
Any more questions on the motion? Motion made.
Second.
Morrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Howard?
Item number 14 is a public hearing on the ordinance 919 and 2025
So we'll just entertain a motion to open up the public hearing. See if the public has any comments, and if not, we'll entertain a motion to close.
Open the hearing, public hearing, ordinance 919.
Carlson?
Aye.
President?
I'm going for a public make.
Motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 919, 2025 budget and ordinance.
Carlson?
Aye.
Aye. And next item is to adopt the adoption of the ordinance 919.
Motion to adopt the ordinance number 919 of the 2025-2026 budget and appropriation.
Carlson?
Aye.
President?
So moved.